Okay, the recording has been started.
All right, so good afternoon. My name is Lincoln Strawn, the hearing officer, and this is a scheduled hearing in the matter of encroachment permit application number L95S3057D regarding the Bryan E Morganstern Trust, who is the applicant of a boat dock. And this is case number CC-2021-PUB-22-004. And so we'll go through just a couple preliminary items, then we'll give everyone a chance to talk regarding the issue at hand. And that would include, first, we'll go to the applicant for the boat dock permit, and then we'll hear from any objectors that have filed objections to prevent this single family dock from being built. And then we'll hear from the Department of Lands regarding their anything that they want to say and any statements they have regarding this dock. And so this hearing is an administrative hearing. It's informal in nature compared to like a criminal or civil hearing, but we do want to keep this orderly and professional. And I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to say what they need to say regarding the proposed application of this dock. And so just ask for everyone's cooperation of making sure we give everyone a chance to speak when it's their turn to speak, and then to address your issue when it is time to be called upon. So I think we already established this, but let's go ahead and establish it officially for the record. So is the applicant here regarding the Bryan E Morganstern Trust representing the applicant?
Yes, Bryan Morganstern here representing myself.
Okay, good afternoon. And then the objectors I have is basically for Sarma Vitulens Estrada, and it seems like she has an attorney, Jonathan Hallen. Are you on the line, Mr. Hallen?
I am. Mara Vitulens is actually the current trustee of the trust, but also present and representing the family trust are Sarma Vitulens, Dinah Vitulens, and Valda Vitulens.
Okay, all right. And when it's your turn to present the case, Mr. Holland, I'm fine if you speak as well as they speak. You can go back and forth. It's really to present their position however you see fit. Because again, I want to keep this kind of as flexible as possible so everyone feels comfortable saying what they need to say. We just also want to keep it orderly. And so just to let you know when it's your turn, you're free to have your clients speak as well as you speak, and it's really however you want to present your objection. All right, thank you. And is it my understanding, let's go to you, Ms. Kaufman, for Department of Lands. Was there any other objectors that were part of the official objection of this dock?
Good afternoon. No, there were not any other objectors.
Okay, thank you. And so with that, I'll acknowledge that Ms. Kaufman is there from Department of Lands, as well as the Department of Lands representative. And so with that in mind, did the department want to make any statement at this point or reserve towards the end once we've heard from the applicant and objector? Mr. Hammer, did you want to make an opening statement?
I'll make my statement at the end, Mr. Hearing Officer.
All right, thank you. Let's go to the applicant. We'll give you a chance to present your case starting in just a moment. And before we do that, I'm going to swear you in, and really anyone considered a witness as part of this case, we do swear people in as part of these hearings. And so just know that's coming. So with that in mind, let's go ahead to the applicant. Bryan Morganstern, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth today?
I do.
Okay.
Mr. Strawn?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. And Mr. Morganstern, I apologize to you as well. We were muted. Just so the recording and the record are clear, I did want to let you know that both the Idaho Department of Lands and the Office of the Attorney General have additional people, I believe on Zoom, just watching and observing today. So I thought that you might perhaps want to provide them with the opportunity to introduce themselves so your record is complete.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. And thank you for bringing that up. So let's go ahead and do that. I can see some of the names on the line. Let me see. Okay, and I think so far and so I see Joy Vega from the Attorney General's office. Ms. Vega, are you just observing today, or will you be participating with Ms. Kaufman?
Good afternoon. I'm just observing today, and in the conference room with me, I have Deputy Attorney General J.J. Winters also.
Okay, all right, welcome, thank you. And then I see a Miss Lauren Moore on the line. And for anyone that has their camera off, that's fine if you want to keep your camera off. Obviously, if it's your turn to talk, we'll ask you to turn the microphone on. But if people feel more comfortable having their camera off when it's not their turn to talk, that's certainly fine as well. Again, I want this to be as flexible as need be, so people are comfortable participating in this process. So Ms. Moore, welcome. Could you please identify your interest in this matter?
Yes, thank you. My name is Lauren Moore. I work with the Idaho Department of Lands, and I'm the Navigable Waters Program Manager.
Okay, and were you expecting to participate in this case, or are you here as needed, or?
Just as an observer, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you, Ms. Moore.
Okay.
And Mr. Wilson, let's go to you. Mr. Eric Wilson, if you could please introduce yourself and describe your interest in this case.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Wilson. I'm the Bureau Chief for Resource Protection Assistance, and I'm just observing today.
All right, thank you. And you'll see me, I should have said this before, but I'll tell you now, I'm coming to you from Boise, Idaho, downtown, a couple blocks from the Capitol. And in the background, obviously you see closed windows, but what I'm looking at are documents from this application and matter. So if you see me staring off at an angle, I'm looking at a document on the case, and then I have paper down here to my left that I'll occasionally make notes on. So just keep you aware of that. All right, it looks like everyone else on the line is connected with the objector or the applicant. Is there anyone else on the line who is not, who I have not identified?
Mr. Hearing Coordinator, just for the record, I'll say my name's Chris Gozo and I'm with the Department of Lands, and I'm here facilitating the Zoom meeting.
Okay, thank you. And we do appreciate that, so I don't have to deal with it. And okay, with that in mind, Ms. Kaufman, was there anyone else that you thought was on the line that we should identify before proceeding?
Yes, not specifically on the line, but here in the room with us today, we have Cody Fuson and Jennifer Barker, who are both IDL staff members with the Public Trust Program here in Coeur d'Alene.
Okay, and are they observing as well, or are they standing by in case their participation is needed?
They are primarily just they are observing today. So lots of observers for this proceeding.
Okay, sure, no problem. All right, so I sometimes kind of swear everybody in and then we get started, but I think we'll just swear everyone in as it's their turn to speak, because it's not clear at this point who all will be speaking on the hearing. So Mr. Morganstern, I appreciate your patience with us getting going in this process, and I did already swear you in. So at this point, you can offer some sort of opening statement if you want, or just otherwise just explain your reasons of why you feel your doc application should be approved. And we do have your application in the record. Any written documents that are in the record do not have to be specifically referenced during the hearing, but you can obviously emphasize that if there's something that you want to draw attention to. So with that in mind, again, thank you for your patience, and go ahead and begin when you're ready and just explain why you feel your doc application should be approved.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Well, I found the home in March, put it under contract, and quickly realized that the existing permitted slip was too small for my boat. So I contracted with North Idaho Marine to increase the fingers of the slip and to spin the dock to alleviate pressure from Mr. and Mrs. Gambles, who are my neighbors to the west. I was told I would need to get permission from my neighbors, and my realtor offered to contact them for me, as I hadn't yet closed on the home and hadn't had a chance to meet anyone. She told me that Neither neighbor had any issue with it. So I passed that info on to North Idaho Marine, asked them to prepare an application. A couple of weeks later, we received an email from Ms. Vitolins stating that she objected, which I was surprised about. I asked my realtor to please follow up with her so that we could address any concerns. She refused to answer or return any calls, so I assumed I was stuck with the current configuration, quite frankly. I later learned that I could resubmit an alternate plan for consideration. So without being able to have a conversation with her, I assumed she must have a problem with my extension of the dock fingers. So, because really nothing else was changing. So in October, I resubmitted a plan that didn't extend the fingers. It just spun the dock so that it would make more room again for the neighbors to the west. We then learned that she had hired an attorney to fight us, and I was told by Mr. Amer that I had to write to a hearing. So I asked him to set that up. And spinning the dock does not get it any closer to the objector's property. I am not asking to make it any larger now. Ms. Vitolins, her father, had already signed off on the current permit, and the existing dock has been there for over 20 years, I believe. As mentioned in the report by Mr. Amer, the new proposal is still well within the line of navigability. It alleviates the boating pressure again for my neighbors to the west. It does not impede the Vitolins' access to the water, as they have over 110 feet, which to build a dock if they so choose to. And it provides over a 10-foot buffer from the boat slip to the adjacent littoral line. So with that being said, I'd just like to ask for consideration for acceptance of this permit. Again, it's a better plan for the neighbor to the west, and it really doesn't change things for the objector's property to my east.
All right, thank you. And can you talk a little bit, and this is really for my own curiosity, when you say extending the fingers, what exactly does that mean?
Well, I think the boat slip was only 20 feet, 21 feet, something like that. And my boat's 24 feet. So I just wanted to extend the length of the dock so that it would fit properly.
Okay.
And yeah, that was, but it still fits in there, without extending it. So I decided to, remove that. Again, not being able to have a conversation with my neighbors about it. I just had to assume that that was their problem, but apparently they've got other concerns.
Okay. All right, thank you. Was there anything else you wanted to say this time?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Well, if you think of something else, we'll give you a chance to after we hear from some other folks, okay?
Okay, appreciate that.
All right. Mr. Helen, let's go to you and give you and your clients a chance to kind of express their reasons and justification and support for the objection. And if you're having your clients speak, just give me a chance to swear them in just before they testify, okay?
All right, sounds good. Well, let's start with Balda Vitolins.
Okay. Let's see. I'm sorry, could you repeat her name just one more time?
Balda Vitolins, V-A-L-D-A.
All right, thank you. Ms. Balda Vitolins, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth today?
I do.
Thank you.
Ms. Vitolins, would you please state your name for the record?
Yes, it's Balda Vitolins.
And how are you related to August and Ida Vitolins?
I'm their youngest daughter.
Okay. And where do you currently reside?
I reside on the property at 3010 East Rivercrest Drive.
Okay. And how long have your parents owned the property at 3010 East Rivercrest Drive?
Since 78. I believe since 78.
And how old were you at the time that your parents purchased the property?
I was around 10.
And was that your parents' primary residence?
Yeah, it was built. So we were in the Pine Villa complex and then building there. So it became their primary residence.
And so from age 10, you resided at 3010 East Rivercrest Drive?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And at what point did you leave the family residence?
For college, 85.
Okay. And you moved back when?
in 2019, January of 2019.
Okay, and have your parents resided at 3010 East Rivercrest Drive continuously since 1978?
That's correct.
Now, you mentioned you moved back in 2019.
That's correct.
Okay, and you now currently share that residence with your mother, Ida Vitulens?
That's correct.
Okay, and I understand that your father is deceased.
That's correct.
Okay, and do you recall when he passed away?
And December 10th, 2018.
Okay. And beyond you and your husband and children and mother, do your sisters also use the family residence?
Yes.
Now, is there a, let's show you some photographs that have been marked as H5. These in front of you. Are you familiar with, why don't you flip through all the series of photographs there? Are you able to hear us? We're all wearing a mask.
Yeah, I can hear you fine, and I do have that exhibit H up. Does anyone else have trouble hearing? Nope. Okay, I can hear fine. It seems like everyone else can hear fine as well.
Okay. In Balda, I understand you're currently your mother's guardian.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, are you familiar with these photographs? There's a series of 9 photographs.
Yeah, we took them of our property. This is our, the photograph 2 is our dock and waterfront property.
Let's pause real quick. So
Sure.
these photographs were taken by you or your husband?
My husband, yeah.
Okay. And do you recall the time frame of when those were taken? Within the last month?
Yeah, in the last month for sure.
Okay. And those depict your property as it currently stands?
That's correct.
Okay. Now let's focus on the, you see the photograph, it's got a 1 above it.
Yes.
Okay.
That one.
Just generally speaking, what is that?
So this is looking to the east. So this is our neighbors from the Rivercrest Drive area and homeowners.
Okay. And how about the photograph that has a 2 above it?
Okay, and then that one's looking to the east. So that's Mr. Morganstern's dock that you can see.
Okay. And I see each of these photographs, there's a small fixed dock.
Yes.
Is that on?
Yes, that's our
Rivercrest?
property.
And how long has that been present?
The dock has been present since we've had the property. It was just every year we just kind of try to do a little upkeep. So.
Let's turn the page.
Okay.
Can you tell me about the photograph that's been marked as 3?
Okay, so that is basically our waterfront. That was a barrier that was built by my dad that to try to prevent soil erosion. And you can see again on the bottom photograph, you get a better view of kind of Mr. Morganstern's dock at the end there, where they have a landing and a walkway onto the dock, and then our waterfront property.
And you were just talking about the photograph that has a 4 above it.
Yes, that's correct.
And is that photograph taken looking or facing west?
This one, yes. I'm sorry. I think I said those the wrong way.
Now let's look at
Okay.
5.
Okay.
And what is 5 depict?
So you can see that those are the kind of part of our barrier that just over the top. So we're just above kind of the beach and looking out onto the water, almost directly out from our property.
So you say just out front of our property, are you talking about the residence?
Yeah, and you can kind of see to the right, there are wooden steps. Those steps lead up to the house.
Okay, and let's hold for a moment. So your parents' property is improved with a single family residence?
It is, yes,
Okay. And is that set back some ways from the river?
yes, it is.
But does it have a view of the river from inside the residence?
Yes,
And there's also a dock, or excuse me, a deck that is constructed on the residence that looks out over the river?
that's correct.
Okay. And that also has a view of the river?
That's correct.
And these photographs 5 and 6 are taken from a short distance from the residence or the dock, or the deck, excuse me?
Yeah, it's just at the bottom of the hill before you go turn and go to our dock.
Okay, let's turn the page to photograph 7.
Okay.
Just generally speaking, what are 7 and 8?
Okay, so you can see 7, the end of our deck that's attached to our house. So we're standing on the deck, taking pictures to our, to the view of our property, I guess, behind us. And this one is number 8. Mr. Morganstern's house is to the right of this. You can kind of see where the grass starts. That's his property. Ours is everything to the left, and that's our view.
Okay. Finally, photograph 9.
Okay, and that's looking out on our deck again.
Is that the yard that abuts the deck?
Yeah, that is.
Now, Valda, are you familiar with the nature that you're, during the period that your parents have owned the property, the manner in which your parents have enjoyed the river?
Yeah.
Okay, and just describe what uses they would make of the river during the time they've owned it.
You know, they basically just enjoy the view. My dad was a forester, so he wanted the property to be natural. He was always worried about impacting the environment with his anything he built. That's why we have a small dock. And you know, he never wanted to use like tires or anything in the water, because he said that the petroleum can be a problem. So it, you know, that's how he came up with this barrier with the basically all wooden as much as possible. And my dad was outside all the time, so this is kind of what he wanted. He just wanted to keep things as they were, not cut down a bunch of trees, and enjoy the beauty of the area.
And what about the wildlife and fish?
Oh my God. Yeah, my dad fishes. He was a fisherman, and, you know, taught all his grandkids to fish off that dock.
How does your family currently make use of the river?
We don't have anything motorized. We have basically kayaks and sups, and we used to have a paddle boat, and we swim and just play in the water.
Okay, is your current use of the river consistent with your parents' historical use, being non-motorized, enjoying the river for its aesthetics, enjoying the wildlife and fishes?
Yes, definitely.
And does your family have any intention to develop a dock structure in the river out front of the property?
No.
Or rather, is it your family's intention to leave the river in front of the property unobstructed?
Yes. We're basically the only property that doesn't have a big cement wall, and so the ducks and everything come right up to, you know, I know they also go to the other docks, but it's kind of a habitat for them.
So if I understand correctly, the lack of improvements in the river in front of your parents' property has been intentional.
Yes, yes, we want it natural.
I don't have any further questions for Ms. Vitulens. I do have a couple questions for Sarma Vitulens at Estrada.
Okay. Yeah, let's give Mr. Morganstern a chance to ask any questions regarding the recent testimony, and then if you have another witness, we can call that witness. Mr. Morganstern, did you have any questions regarding the testimony you just heard?
No, I don't.
Okay. Department, Ms. Kaufman, do you have any questions for that witness?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions, Mr.
Okay.
Strong, if I may.
Sure.
Hi, good afternoon. I just have a couple of questions for you. I want to make sure I understand what your testimony is. So if we could go back to Exhibit 5, if Mr. Hallen would be kind enough to make sure that's in front of you. And I'd like to take a look at that, the first picture that has a number 1 at the top. If I understood your testimony, so if I look at that, I see a longer dock structure, sort of what I would say is towards the top of the photo or to the left of the photo, and a smaller dock structure, perhaps shorter, towards the bottom. And I'm going to ask a question and then stop so you can correct me. So that I believe that you testified that the longer topward dock structure is your neighbors. Do I have that correct? Your neighbors to the east?
Right, multiple neighbors. Yeah, they're a community dock. Mhm.
Okay. And then that smaller dock structure that is a little bit lower, and it's really kind of in the middle of the picture.
Yes.
If I your testimony correct, that's the dock structure on your property or the trust property, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's the same dock structure then that we see in the picture that's labeled number 2?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know whether you have an encroachment permit from the Idaho Department of Lands for that dock structure?
I don't know. It was, in 78 it was built, so.
Okay. And would your answer be the same for the erosion control measures that we see in photo number 4? Do you know whether there's an encroachment permit for those items?
For those, there was one with John and Joyce Preston when they owned the property. There was something that my dad signed, basically.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you clarifying, making sure I understood. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hallen, did you have another witness you would like to call?
Yes, Sarma Vitulens Estrada.
Okay. Sarma Vitulens Estrada, would you confirm that you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth today?
I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Sarma. I understand that you are also a daughter of Gus and Ida Vitulens.
That's correct.
And you're familiar with the property we've been talking about today?
That's correct.
Okay. And you also grew up in that house?
I did.
And I understand that for a period of time, you were also a trustee of the August and Ida Vitulens Trust.
That's correct. It started out as, just to clarify, it was in an LLC, and then this summer it was moved into the trust. So I was the manager of the LLC, which is, if you'd see some of the documentation, it says DMSV. That was my parents' LLC. I was the manager, and that was moved into trust this summer.
And that was done for estate planning purposes?
Correct, exactly.
Okay. And you currently reside in Chicago area, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm 40 miles west of Chicago.
Okay. 40 miles west, are you on a body of water?
No, not at all.
Okay. Do you recall being contacted by Mr. Morganstern's real estate agent?
I do.
Okay. Did you advise her that you were going through a dock permitting process?
No, I've never gone through a dock permitting process. I've never owned any property with any waterfront.
Okay. And have you, on behalf of the trust, ever consented to an encroachment permit on behalf of Mr. Morganstern?
No, I have not.
No further questions.
All right, Mr. Morganstern, do you have any questions for Ms. Sarma Vitulens?
No, I don't.
Ms. Kaufman, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Holland, did you have any other witnesses you wanted to call?
Briefly, Mara Vitulens.
Okay. Ms. Mara Vitulens, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth today?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mara. Now I understand that you are currently the successor trustee of the Ida and August Vitulens Trust.
That's correct.
And you also are familiar with the property we've been talking about today at 3010 East Rivercrest Drive?
Yes.
Did you also have the pleasure of growing up in that property?
I did. And I'm too far away now.
Where do you
Wish I was there.
reside?
Pardon me?
Where do you currently reside?
In Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
And in your capacity as trustee of the August and Ida Vitulens Trust, have you consented to the application filed on behalf of Mr. Morganstern?
No, I have not.
And sitting here today, do you consent to the application?
No, I do not.
No further questions.
Mr. Morganstern, do you have any questions for Ms. Mara Vitulens?
No questions. Thank you.
Ms. Kaufman, do you have any questions for Mara Vitulens?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Holland, do you have any other witnesses that you wanted to call?
I do not have any further witnesses.
Okay. Did you have, either statements you wanted to make or an argument you wanted to present to further clarify the reasons for the objection?
I do have some arguments and summation. Present those whenever.
Okay. You can do those now, or I'll give you a chance to do a closing statement. It's really your preference.
Okay, I can just fashion them as a closing statement. That's fine.
Okay. All right. That is fine. All right. Well, let's go over to Department of Lands with Ms. Kaufman. Ms. Kaufman, did you want to call a witness at this point, or did you want to first present any statements or arguments?
I'm not going to present any statement or argument. This is our standard practice. I'm just going to ask Mr. Amer to present on behalf of the Department of Lands. So if you would like to swear him in, that would be fine.
Okay. Mr. Amer, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth today?
I do.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Okay. I'm going to be reading the statement that was submitted as part of the record. I will be skipping the section that references all of the rules, applicable rules that were applied to for this application. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Amer, and I'm the Lands Resource Supervisor for the MICA Supervisory Area Office of Department of Lands. My purpose in being here today is to provide you with information regarding IDL's assessment of application for encroachment permit L95S 3057D application filed by Bryan E Morganstern Trust, or Morganstern. For the application, Morganstern is seeking an encroachment permit for a single-family dock located on the Spokane River. The proposed single-family dock will consist of a tapered 10 by 20 approach, 3 by 17 ramp, and 20 by 27 foot single slip dock with a total of approximately 537 square feet. Morganstern has an existing permit, L95S 3057C, for a 4 by 20 pier, 3 by 20 ramp, 6 by 5 approach, and a 20 by 27 foot single slip dock, approximately 537 feet. As far as the timeline goes, on June 21st of 2021, IDL received an incomplete application for a single family dock from Morganstern. IDL emailed Morganstern's agent for additional information. On July 6th of 2021, IDL received a complete application from Morganstern. On July 8th, 2021, IDL sent adjacent neighbor notices to the Gamble's Revocable Trust and the DMSB Rivercrest LLC. On July 22nd, 2021, Sarma Vitulins, acting for DMSB, emailed IDL advising that they had not consented to the dock reconfiguration. And on the 28th of July, 2021, Sarma emailed IDL objecting to the application. On July 29th of 2021, IDL received an objection letter from DMSB via US mail. On August 19th, 2021, IDL spoke with Morganstern about the hearing deadline set forth in Idaho Code, and Morganstern agreed to waive the 60-day deadline for the hearing. On August 26, 2021, Morganstern requested to work with his dock builder on design and resubmit a new dock drawing. On October 7th, 2021, IDL received a new application and drawing from Morganstern. On October 14th, 2021, IDL sent new adjacent neighbor notices via certified mail because the proposed encroachment would be closer than the 10 feet from adjacent littoral right lines on either side. On October 26th, IDL received certified mail receipt dated October 18th from notice to DMSB. And on November 11th, 2021, IDL received a written objection from DMSB's counsel via email. Counsel explained that the property is now vested in the name of August and Ida Vitulins Family Trust. Also on the 1st of November 21, IDL notified Morganstern of the objection. And finally, on November 19th, 2021, IDL's director issued a notice of appointment of hearing officer and hearing. As stated before, I'm going to skip over the applicable legal provisions that IDL reviewed and considered when processing the application. And I will skip to page 6, which is IDL's analysis of the application's compliance with the LPA and LPA rules. And LPA stands for the Lake Protection Act. Littoral ownership. Morganstern owns one littoral parcel on the Spokane River, parcel number P850000010160, with approximately 25 feet of water frontage. Morganstern is therefore a littoral owner with littoral rights. Morganstern is seeking an encroachment permit for a single family dock at 537 square feet. This application would be considered a navigational encroachment. As stated above, Morganstern owns approximately 25 feet of water frontage, which is sufficient water frontage for a single family dock. IDAPA code 20.03.04.05.01 requires that a single family dock does not exceed 700 square feet in size. And the proposed encroachment with Morganstern is a 537 square foot dock. The proposed dock would extend outward into the river 64 feet. There is a community dock immediately downstream or to the west of the Morganstern property that extends 85 feet into the river. And there are docks immediately upstream that extend 70 feet into the river on the other side of the dock that we discussed today with the Vitulins. Therefore, the proposed dock, Morganstern dock, appears to be located within the established line of navigability. As far as distance from littoral lines, IDAPA code 20.03.04.015.13E provides in pertinent part that it will be presumed, subject to rebuttal, that single-family navigational encroachments will have an adverse effect upon adjacent littoral rights if located closer than 10 feet from adjacent littoral right lines. written consent of the adjacent littoral owners will automatically rebut the presumption. The proposed Morganstern single-family dock does not appear to provide a 10-foot setback from the adjacent littoral right lines on either side of the proposed encroachment. The downstream neighbor to the west, Gamble's Revocable Trust, did not object to the proposed project, and it appears the proposed change would improve navigability on that property side. Because the Gamble's Revocable Trust filed a written notice of no objection to the application, the presumption of adverse effect has been rebutted as to the west or downstream side of the Morganstern proposed encroachment. The upstream neighbor to the east, the Vitalins Trust, did object to the application, in part based on the distance between the proposed encroachment and the shared littoral line. At the outset, it should be noted that the proposed Morganstern dock would not be any closer to the littoral line shared with the Vitalins Trust than the current existing and permitted dock that is on site. It is important to remember that the purpose of the setback is to protect adjacent littoral rights. Littoral rights are only the rights of owners or lessees of land adjacent to navigable waters of the lake to maintain their adjacency to the lake and to make use of their rights as riparian or littoral owners or lessees in building or using aids to navigation. Littoral rights have been described as the right to access the water at all points along one's waterfront and the right to wharf out. The Vitalins Trust does not currently have a dock permit or other encroachment on their property, and does not appear they are contending that the proposed encroachment would impede their access to the water. Additionally, there would be over 110 feet between the proposed Morganstern dock and the closest dock upstream, which would appear to leave ample room for the trust to have a dock. Finally, it should be noted that the proposed Morganstern dock would provide at least a 10-foot buffer waterward near the line of navigability, where boat traffic and moorage would occur. The proposed Morganstern dock simply rotates the slip portion of the existing dock to face the Spokane River and incoming waves in an apparent attempt to alleviate boating pressure on the downstream or west neighbor and making mooring a boat at the Morganstern property easier. Conclusion, the dock drawings that were submitted by Morganstern all appear to meet the single-family dock standards that are listed under IDAPA 20.03.04.015.01. Specifically, the proposed dock is less than 700 square feet in size. The proposed dock is within the line of navigability. No portion of the dock is wider than 10 feet. Morganstern owns 25 feet of frontage, which makes him eligible for an encroachment permit. The proposed dock drawing does not appear to provide a full 10-foot buffer between the dock and adjacent littoral lines, as the littoral lines flare out from the shoreline and appear to be about 2 feet from the littoral line to the east along the shoreline. However, they're about 13 to 20 feet out towards the end of the proposed dock. As noted above, the proposed dock does not infringe any closer to the property upstream or east than the existing permitted dock and would appear to alleviate boat congestion between the Morganstern property and the Gamble's Revocable Trust property. If the application is denied, there would still be an existing permitted dock in the same location that would present the same issues to the Vitalins Trust, while the outer slip portion of the proposed reconfigured dock does provide the 10-foot buffer. Based on the fact that the proposed dock is providing at least a 10-foot buffer at the end of the dock, along with the fact that there is an existing permitted dock in the same location, as well as the fact that it is not clear the proposed encroachment would interfere with the Vitalins Trust littoral rights, IDEA recommends approval of the application. The adverse effect rule in IDAPA mentions that it's subject to rebuttal, and it is IDL's opinion that the factors listed above provide the necessary rebuttal. I would like to make a comment about the section I read earlier just a second ago in regards to the Vitalins Trust not having a dock or permit. And that was based on aerial review. There was not a dock in the property. I believe, as was mentioned during the testimony today, that I think it was under construction. It must have been under construction and removed when the aerial photo was taken, along with the fact that a review of our two databases that have over 7,000 records in them was not able to find a permit for that property. So although I mentioned in my testimony that they don't have a dock, obviously we know today based on the photos that the Vitalins do have a dock. And that concludes my statement.
76.
All right, thank you, Mr. Amer. Mr. Morganstern, do you have any questions for Mr. Amer from Department of Lands?
No, I think that was very clear and concise conclusion, and I look forward to hearing your decision.
All right, thank you. Mr. Helen, do you have any questions for Mr. Amer from Department of Lands?
Just a couple quick questions. Mr. Amer, did you find any record that the Department of Lands granted Mr. Morganstern or his predecessors in interest a variance to construct dock improvements within the 10-foot buffer between the Vitulins and Morganstern property?
I think I can answer that question with a review of encroachment permit L95S3057C issued to John Preston. That was issued on August 24th of the year 2000. And on the drawing page of that dock, there are initials that say AV for a property owner to the east. So it appears to us that both neighbors, actually, the neighbors to the east and to the west, initial the drawing. And that is a common practice for Department of Lands. When something like this were to occur where you would need to have that neighbor sign off, it'd be common for the applicant to approach the neighbor and have them sign off on the drawing. And that would rebut the adverse effect they were talking about. And like I said, you could clearly make out an AV initials for on the line where it says property owner to the east, which we believe was for August Vitulins.
I understand that, but looking at these documents, there is no call out for the distance for between the improvements and the littoral line, correct?
You're correct. There is no distance. However, there is a PL, and the PL points to the pier location, which would indicate to me that PL, which we refer to as property line, PL is basically the eastern edge of the pier. We also, I failed to mention, we also do have the neighbor sign-off page signed by August. We have two different pages signed by August. One of them was signed back in November 4th of 1994. And then this most recent one was signed August 18th of 2000. So in addition to just the initials on the drawing, we also have the neighbor notification form signed off saying that they don't have any objections to the proposed dock. And there's nothing in the file to indicate, since the dock was completed, that it was too close or there was any objections or any complaints from the adjacent neighbor.
And generally speaking, once a permit is issued, the Department of Lands does not follow up to make sure encroachments are constructed in the permitted location, correct?
I would say for the most part, correct. For a long time, the Coeur d'Alene office had one employee that was in charge of all of the shoreline in Kootenai County. So we weren't able to do an inspection every single time a dock was constructed. We recently have started a practice of inspecting docks once they reach their sunset period. Sunset period is a 3-year period. The applicant has to build the dock. We've been trying to do an audit on them. However, if we ever received a complaint from somebody, that is when we would do most of our inspections, would be following complaint. We don't have the staff to inspect every application or encroachment, but when we receive a complaint from somebody, we do react.
Okay. And in 2000, when this permit that we've been talking about that was issued to Mr. Preston was issued, the Lake Protection Act was in effect, correct?
Correct.
And the 10-foot buffer that is part of the Lake Protection Act that we've been speaking of was in effect in 2000.
Correct.
Okay. And in 2000 or thereafter, generally speaking, the Department of Lands did not issue or inspect and issue, sign off on construction after encroachments were constructed.
Objection. I think that misstates Mr. Amer's testimony.
How so, Ms. Kaufman?
I don't think that Mr. Amer testified that IDL did not sign off on construction after dock construction was completed. He testified about inspections and the capability of the staffing capabilities of the Idaho Department of Lands, but there is a distinction there, and I just want to make sure that our record is accurate on that point.
Okay. Mr. Allen, do you want to restate your question?
That's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Amer, in 2000, the department did not have a post-construction inspection process for encroachments.
I cannot actually speak to that. I did not start at the department until the year 2012, I believe. I'm not exactly sure what previous staff did. I was speaking earlier to the fact that we had one employee in Coeur d'Alene, and that one person was in charge of the entire shoreline of Kootenai County. So all of Lake Coeur d'Alene River, Spokane River, Hayden Lake, Twin Lake, Spirit Lake, Fernand Lake. That's quite a bit. Now, does that mean that IDL never did any inspections post-construction? I do not know. I doubt it. I'm sure we did. Did we inspect every single encroachment? I would say most likely not, based again on the fact that we only had one employee.
Okay, to your knowledge, did the department issue a subsequent permit to applicants once encroachments had been constructed?
I'm not sure if I understand your question or to be rude, but if you understand what you're asking.
Well, I understand what I'm asking, but so
are you asking if we issue a permit after we already issued a permit?
Well, or a certificate, whatever you want to phrase it. In home building, there's a certificate of occupancy that is issued after a home is constructed. So I'm talking about the like for a permit. Is there some kind of certificate or permit or document that is issued by the Department of Lands after encroachments have been constructed?
No, we just issue the one permit.
Okay.
Now I'll say this though, if we issue a permit and we do an inspection and the dock or the encroachment does not match the permit, then we would follow up with a notice of non-compliance.
No, further questions for Mr. Amer?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, at this time, I'd like to give the parties a chance to make closing statements. You don't have to make one, but it's a chance to do so if you want to.
Mr. Hangofster, I'm sorry. I wanted to make one point just to make sure that you were aware. You had asked a question earlier about fingers on a dock. I just wanted to make sure you kind of understood. A common configuration for a dock would be something we would call an F-shaped dock. So you can imagine drawing a capital F and the boat parks in between the slip where the parts of the F that make the F. So the fingers are that upper portion of the F. And so if you lengthen those fingers, then there would be a larger slip for a boat to park in. That's what was referred to earlier. I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Okay, that makes sense. And thank you for the description. That's easy to visualize. So thank you for that. All right, Mr. Morganstern, you don't have to make one, but if you'd like to make a closing statement, you may do so at this time.
Mr. Strahan, I had a couple questions for Mr. Morganstern. If
did I
had the opportunity to question him following his proffer?
Oh, I thought you did have questions. I'm sorry. Yeah, if you have any questions for Mr. Morganstern, please feel free to do so.
Okay. Mr. Morganstern, I understand from your prior statement that you're seeking an application to realign the orientation of your existing dock for the navigation issues related to your personal boat.
Yes, I believe that's what I said earlier.
And there's no other reason that you are seeking the application that you filed?
No.
Okay.
It's to alleviate the pressure from the people to the west. That's basically it.
And the people to the west are the Gambles Trust?
Mr. and Mrs. Gambles, yes.
Okay. And the Gambles Trust and your property are both located in the Short Pines subdivision, correct?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and the Short Pines subdivision is subject to a set of CC&Rs or conditions, restrictions and covenants, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And part of those CC&Rs provide the riverfront properties with mutual easements to encroach upon the littoral rights of each other, correct?
Yeah, I guess I don't really know. You're going down a path that I'm not real educated on.
Okay, and the Short Pines subdivision also has a community dock consisting of an 18-slip boat dock, correct?
Yes, I believe it's 18 slips.
Okay, and that's located 3 lots to the west or upstream or downstream, excuse me.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Have you sought permission to park your 24-foot boat in the community dock?
No, I don't have access to the community dock because I've got my own dock. Those are only for lots that aren't on the water.
But nevertheless, you have not sought permission to the ability to use that dock?
No, like I said before, those slips all belong to other lot owners.
Okay. No further questions.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go back to you, Mr. Morganstern, and give you a chance to make a closing statement if you want to make one, but you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, quite frankly.
All right, thank you. Mr. Holland, did you want to make a closing statement, either yourself on behalf of your clients or your clients themselves?
Yes, Your Honor, or Mr. Holland. I just gave you promotion. Well, under the Lake Protection Act, the legislature has issued a broad command to consider a number of factors beyond navigation. And those are protection of property, fish and wildlife habitat, aquatic life, recreation, aesthetic beauty, and water quality. And we think that if the spirit and the purpose of the Lake Protection Act is taken into give an effect, and all of those considerations are given weight, not just navigation, that the application should be denied in this case. What we have here is a application that is concededly encroaches upon the 10-foot buffer, no matter how you extend those littoral lines out into the river. My client certainly takes exception with how those littoral rights were extended, but nevertheless, it's conceded by the application that it does, the encroachments as they currently exist do encroach upon that 10-foot buffer. Those encroachments interfere with my client's historical and present and intended uses of their property. And those uses are non-motorized recreation and enjoying the aesthetic nature and beauty of the river, as well as the wildlife and fisheries. My clients have intentionally refrained from making any improvements in the riverbed so as not to interfere with their historical, present, and intended future uses. The clients believe that if the dock is allowed to be moved, it will further interfere with their visual ability to enjoy the aesthetic beauty of the river and the surrounding circumstances. The application that's been proffered here is brought forth primarily for one of navigation, and that is strictly personal to the applicant because the applicant's boat is larger than what has historically been used with the present slip orientation and size. It's not that the applicant does not have the ability to navigate a watercraft into the slip. It's that the applicant's personal chosen boat is too large to fit into the existing dock. And so if you consider the broad command or the broad factors under the Lake Protection Act, I think that the other factors outweigh the strictly personal navigation reason that has been proffered by the applicant and do not support granting the application. As far as the department's suggestion that the improvements on my client's property were recently constructed, Your Honor, Mr. Strahan, those have been in existence since my clients purchased the property in 1978. Those predate the Lake Protection Act. They were not recently constructed. And I can tell you that I have looked at the aerial GPS photos and have been hard pressed to be able to find them on recent aerial photos because of how small and modest and minimal they are. And that was intentional because of the nature of my client's use of the property, being that this was really a small dock to use for swimming and fishing. It was not one for mooring up to because my clients had historically enjoyed non-motorized forms of recreation in the river. As far as the property at issue, Mr. Morganstern's property is part of the Shore Pines subdivision, which is, as well as the Gamble's property, which is also part of the Gamble or the Shore Pines subdivision. And in the part of the CC&Rs for Shore Pines, or the riverfront lots, is a mutual grant of easement to those riverfront lots, allowing them to construct boat docks within the riparian rights of each other. My client's property is not part of Shore Pines, and so it does not fall within that document. I point that out because the applicant does have the ability to move the docks further downstream or west if there is need to reorient them. And that is certainly permissible within the CC&Rs. What we have here is a, if you look at the aerial photos, really what we have here is we have, the applicant has 25 feet of riparian rights, but the neighbors downstream also have a larger degree of riparian rights, but they are kind of encroached upon by this large 18-slip community dock that belongs to the Shore Pines community, and which has kind of pushed the other docks upstream. That is no reason, however, because to allow the docks to continue to go upstream. My clients, again, are part of the Shore Pines subdivision. They have no involvement in the Shore Pines. They have no benefit. And again, if Mr. Morganstern needs to reorient his dock, it should be done so that it moves it towards west rather than east. So in sum, clients urge you to deny the requested application for the reasons that I've noted, and that's the broad other factors under the Lake Protection Act that are to be considered in addition to navigation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kaufman or Mr. Amer, did you want to make a closing statement for Department of Lands?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, I will consider everything that has been said during this hearing, as well as the written documents that were sent in support of the various positions. And I will issue a recommended order on this issue within 30 days from today's hearing date. And then, of course, the Director of Lands will issue the final order after my recommendations. So I thank you everyone for your participation. We can go ahead and conclude the hearing and disconnect. And so Chris, you can stop recording at this time, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.